it is finally time to talk about the finale of Loki season 1, because yes, it is already renewed for season 2, and I'm sitting here in a more relaxed lighting. I don't have all like the, the big lights on and everything, see, and because I look orange and I don't want to. But I got up at 6 a.m. to watch this, and it was totally worth it in my opinion. I definitely can see some complaints, and again, I will get into all of this, but massive spoiler warning already, just because I'm going to talk about a lot of things here. It's 10 o'clock at night as I'm recording this, and the reason I got up so early is so I could watch it before work, and then I worked for hours and hours and hours, 8.5 hours, and then I was busy with other stuff until now. But it's finally time. I will get this video out, and then I will review the final Netflix film in the Fear Street trilogy, which I'm very excited to watch. I'm going to watch it right as soon as I post this video. Very excited for that. But let's talk about Loki. So a lot of people are saying this episode doesn't really complete the season, and to a certain extent, I can understand that, but there is so much more, and it has forever changed the future of the MCU, and I'm going to talk about all that basically now. So it picks up right where the last one left off, and Sylvie and Loki, they just go into this, basically, it's like Lord of the Rings style almost. That's what I think of, with just a ton of neon colors, and they go into this castle-looking thing, whatever you want to call it, I forget exactly, and it's basically the end of time, because in the last episode, they beat the big storm lion thing that was green, and they go in here, and then Miss Minute shows up, and it reminded me of this meme. Credit to this guy for putting it on his story. Great edits. Make sure to go follow him. He's awesome. There's a little shout out there. And she shows up, and then she's like, you can have everything you wanted. What if Thanos didn't kill you? What if you could rule Asgard? You could do all this. You'd be a king. You could have the Infinity Gauntlet, all this. She's trying to trick them, but then they go in farther, and she's like, yeah, I forget what they call him exactly. Again, it's been hours since I watched it. Again, I apologize for that, but he's basically the grand one, the big evil, the biggest and most important person out there. And then it just ends up being Jonathan Majors, who is just awesome. I'm so glad that he's finally in the MCU. I'm a big fan of his, and I need to see him in more. He's a great actor, and he shows up here, and he's kind of this silly, quirky version of Kang. It's like Kang the Conqueror or whatever he is, but apparently he's a variant, a better version of him, not as evil, because of course there's a ton of variants, as we learn in this show, that I really love. And one little thing that I really love here, this is kind of jumping around a little bit, but I just have to say this before I forget it, and one of the things, how they're trying to change the perspective of the Minutemen, is they bring them back to Ravonna, but a different variant of her, and she's a teacher, and you're just out of school, you're like, why am I out of school? And then you see her, and then it totally will, of course, change the perspective of the Minutemen. It's so smart here. And Jonathan Majors, jumping back now, it's all in the timeline, he's kind of messing around, and you can kind of tell something is kind of off, but I really enjoy that. Obviously, it was fully on purpose. And then he's talking about, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. I have it all written down here, everything. But then it hits this point where he's like, oh, I don't actually know what's going to happen after this. And he had it all planned out, and this whole time Sylvie is basically trying to kill him, and they were both, Sylvie and Loki were both trying to, but Sylvie especially, because they've both been through a lot. But then it also leads Sylvie and Loki to this amazing kind of quick fight. It's quick, it's shorter. I apologize if my microphone peaked there. I'll try to fix that in editing. I think it did. But it's basically a little scrap with knives, which is more dangerous. And then it gets to the point where Sylvie's basically holding it against Loki, because it shows their powers, which I really enjoy. They're throwing chairs and stuff with the powers that Loki learned that he had at the end of the last episode, which is really great. But then he's like, I've been in this situation, I know exactly what goes on, obviously referring to Infinity War, where he actually dies the first time before he was able to escape in Endgame or Avengers 2012. There's so much here, and if you haven't seen any of the MCU, I doubt you'll be watching this, but it's confusing to talk about. But basically, Sylvie finds a way to just send him to the TVA, and then she goes and she finally decides to stab Kang, or I'm not going to refer to him as Kang the Conqueror, because I'm not sure if he fully is now, or if this is the worst one of them, but she does stab him, and he's slowly dying. But his performance, Jonathan Majors, is great here. Of course, Tom Hiddleston's great. Sophie Di Martino, or whatever her name is, who plays Sylvie, fantastic. I really want to see more Sylvie. She's awesome. That duo is awesome. Owen Wilson is really great. He has this just really awesome scene where he kind of comes back in the TVA, and he's like, guess who's back? He says I'm paraphrasing, but he says some line to Ravonna, and she's fully corrupted, and he goes to prune her, but then she knocks him down, but she doesn't fully prune him. there's a lot that happened in this episode if you can't tell. But I think the most important thing I have to discuss is the ending. It's what everybody is talking about, so just jumping through that. So Sylvie has sent Loki back to the TVA through the little watch thing that Kang had, and then she has stabbed him, so he's slowly dying. And because she has done that, all the branches of the timeline have just broken off and set up all these like terrible things. Great for us who are watching the MCU, but in there, terrible things that we don't even know what's gonna happen. And then Loki's like running through the library, and then he sees Mobius, and then he's like, Mobius, like, did you hear what happened? Blah 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 blah. And then Mobius is like, can we trust you? Like, is this the right Loki? And you kind of see how his perspective has changed. Like, everybody's is so different. And then Loki looks out to like the statues that would be like the timekeepers, and then it's a statue of Jonathan Majors as Kang, and then the episode ends, and you're like, what? Like, it doesn't feel exactly like the end to a season one. Like, there isn't closure in it, but that's okay, at least for me. Like, at first I was like, is that it? And the person I watched these with through the teleparty, Jenny, who I think might be watching the video, so thank you for getting up at 6 a.m. for this, Jenny, or even before that. We were just like, is that it? And there were no like post-credit scene, no mid-credit scene, anything. All it said was Loki will return for season 2 or whatever, which is great. I'm glad they confirmed that, but that just sets up so much. And now there's a reason for Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to show up in No Way Home, because they've basically destroyed all the timelines and everything's kind of going haywire. And I think that also sets up why they're going to be there, and there's going to be so much, and the multiverse of madness is just going to be even more confusing to explain than this show is. And this show isn't confusing while watching it, but explaining it, oh my god, it's making my head insane. But the finale of Loki to me was really satisfying. It may not have been satisfying to everyone. I know Mobius hasn't got his jet ski yet, but I know in the future he definitely will. I think the performances here are all great. The cinematography is just fantastic. This is going to be a lot of people's favorite MCU show, and it's definitely up there. It definitely battles for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier for number 1, and I'm going to give the finale of season 1 of Loki, or episode 6, a 4.5 out of 5. There are like little things, you know, like sometimes where I was like, is this leading to somewhere important? And because it doesn't fully feel like closure, that's not really a problem with me, but because when I first saw it, I reacted like, oh, that's really it. But I'm very excited for season 2. I hope it comes soon. I hope we don't have to wait like 2 or 3 years for it. We'll see. I know they're insanely busy over there at Marvel, pumping out so much content. That's a terrible way to describe it, but I can't praise them enough. And if you've seen the finale, definitely let me know what you think down below. I hope I didn't spoil it for you, but I did give a spoiler warning, so that's kind of your problem. But thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.